This is DJT, and this is his spring gun. What do I mean by that? He is well, also something that elicits thoughts of Donald J. Trump. How about a booby trap? Because I couldn't think of a better poster child as a booby than our illustrious president DJT. What he is doing as part of the Project 2025 program, as he's destroying all of the guardrails that, whether it's in what he's doing to higher education, but more particularly in government, where the agencies that are set up to enforce the law principles. Obviously the Department of Justice is Pamela Joe Bondi has turned it into a joke as a tool of Donald Trump's grievance, running after all of the people that he feels harmed him or embarrassed him or held him to account, which is, there's a long and distinguished list, because he's Donald Trump, if nothing else for his entire life, is a habitual line stepper. So a lot of people have been trying to take corrective action, and he doesn't take well to criticism, and particularly now, as people in their inimitable wisdom put him into office twice. He thinks that he is above the law. The Supreme Court has done everything to reinforce that belief, which is the Roberts Court. One of the greatest embarrassments in Supreme Court jurisprudence was Trump v. U.S., where giving any president almost unlimited and completely unchecked executive power is a mistake. Giving it to Donald J. Trump is an abomination bordering on a war crime. So it is completely indefensible. Indefensible for the strict constructionalists. I'll put that in quotes because they're only Sammy Samuelito and John Roberts and Neil Gorsuch are only strict constructionalists. Excuse me, and Clarence. When it suits their purposes, of course. Other than that, they couldn't give a shit about Supreme Court precedents. They will essentially, as Justice Thomas said, even this year, they basically will publicly urinate on Supreme Court precedents, unless they can be weaponized to support one of their outrageous, super conservative causes. Yeah. What got me going on this this very morning was back to a case that we've talked about in earlier episodes with Paramount and the father and son, the Ellison the elder and Ellison the David, who are going to end up with Paramount. And it's dangerous for lots of reasons. We talked about the CNN factor, giving Donald Trump CNN well-fed and stuffed with an apple in its mouth on a tray like a Porky Pig rerun from the 1940s. Excuse me. But the larger issue of deregulation, how that is such a bad deal for the American public, for the consumer, for those that need to find a job, and for our society as a whole, because it further exacerbates the income disparities, right? So when there's consolidation in most industries, there's the Albertson Kroger in supermarkets, where it has been shown that in when markets, large companies like that consolidate, then more than 30% of the time, there are job losses and prices go up. Not in the majority of the time, but what they use as a selling point is, well, consolidation is great because the economies of scale, which is the bullshit buzzword for consolidation, a justification that if Paramount buys Warner Brothers, then they'll be able to be more efficient and therefore get you greater stuff, cooler movies, and all that. And we know with AI that the movie industry is only trending in one direction now, and it's that downward velocity is going to increase as every year goes by. But what consumers get with consolidation is fewer choices, higher prices. So you get you get you get so many lefts, you'll be begging for a right, to quote the great philosopher Mo Howard of the Three Stooges. I'll give you so many lefts, you'll be begging for a right. That's what consolidation does to consumers, and by extension, employees. So you have fewer places, fewer options to look for a job, which means that there's price fixing and there's wage fixing. That's, unions used to be a bulwark against that, where when companies would get together, particularly at the beginning of the last century, and try to fix labor costs and wages in such a way, Ford talks to GM, talks to what was then Chrysler, and says that, I know we've got the unions, but I'm promising to you today here, Henry Ford, one of the premier personifications of racism in American industry, that I'm not going to go above $2 an hour if you don't. And Mr. Chrysler over here on the left is going to do the same thing. And it'll help all of us. And we just won't talk about it. It'll be our little secret. So that kind of stuff. Obviously, those backroom deals happened all the time, but unions helped fight against that. Your boy, DJT, has taken the guardrails off, has thrown the condoms out the window of the moving car. He has, what else can we do for guardrails? Those things at the bowling alley where they put those out there for the kids so they can get a strike. Now, I don't like those too much. No, I'm Democratic Party, but I still don't like the little rails at the bowling alley. But you get the point. They all of the controls, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, right? Looking at banks, looking at crypto exchanges, looking at everything that Donald Trump has been about his entire life, has been exploiting consumers, either directly or through the bankruptcy code, through whatever, 6 Chapter 11 quote unquote reorganizations, which is just shedding debt in order to take more profits before you scuttle something. like a ship going down, but the captain won't go down with it. He has done this and will continue to do so for the banks. So you'll have, by the time he's done, without intervention by Congress, without hearings, and the brave work by people like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, AOC. On a more local level, I could imagine I could see our new friend Zoran Mamdani. He's not setting national policy, but he is giving voice to any system that victimizes renters in New York, people that need to, oh, I don't know, purchase food to feed their children. And if there's price fixing going on in large food distributors because too much consolidation has gone on, in Boston when I was a kid and working in restaurants in Boston, and was a sous chef, and when I was, this is, geez, 80s earlier. Right? There was you could only get your non-perishable food deliveries from Hall-Smith, Cisco, and Sexton, I guess. And so there was consolidation then, and there was a delightful amount of organized crime with the rest of that, but that's a podcast for another day. What Donald Trump is doing for all of these industries is eliminating all oversight, taking away consumer protections. It's already happened. It isn't. They were what they did this time with Russell Vogt and Stephen Miller and others is they had the Project 2025 playbook ready to go literally on the day that Donald Trump took the oath of office for the second time. They started this work and it's only accelerated. So what used to be a vigorous analysis of mergers and acquisitions with consequential companies like banks, airlines, and others would get scrutiny by the Justice Department. Now, I'm going to wager more than the pennies that we used to mint in the United States that Pamela Jo Bondi, or whoever her successor might be, because she may not be there for too long, is not going to aggressively investigate companies looking to do a merger. The Ellison family's hostile takeover of Warner Brothers will get very little heat, except if Donald Trump points at something and said, I want you to make sure that my friend gets that deal. His friend would be Larry Ellison. So the Netflix folks that are, a perfectly good company and have a great product that we may not have survived COVID. RIP for the many that didn't, because of that was your then President Trump and now President Trump. He did do Project Warp Speed, so the one productive thing that he's done in his life. But they're not going to look at these deals. They won't do it. It's not going to happen. So Jamie Dimon at Chase, a bank, forget about too big to fail. Jamie Dimon's bank is bigger than most continents, if not universes. It's a massive enterprise, and will he choose to get bigger? Or will some of the next, the next players down try to, they need, if they want to continue to compete with JP Morgan Chase, then they need scale. And the only way to get scale is you can't do it by by earning 5% interest. Scale is acquisitions is really the only way to do that. But is it good for the consumer? Well, in this current administration, in the Trump administration, the consideration about whether it's good for the consumer, for you and me, and for people trying to earn a living in mid-level jobs in the U.S. economy, that consideration is completely out the window. They don't give a shit. The GOP hasn't given a shit about the worker for decades. They were just successful in selling a joke about Donald J. Trump being the affordability president. It was a package deal. Like, we promise to make life miserable for Black and brown people for your entertainment, like a Roman Colosseum, if you buy into the affordability bullshit that we're selling you. We'll get DJT into power, and then we're going to take care of you, and we'll never forget. They've already forgotten. He's broken nearly every promise that he made, except the cruelty part. The affordability part, doesn't care. But he and Stephen Miller continue, and regrettably, your boy, little Marco Rubio, and Pete Hegseth are injuring human beings right now as we're speaking. They're probably firing a missile on a boat in the Caribbean and killing people that are trying to catch fish and otherwise provide for their family. So they're doing all the racist things that they promised that they do. So, congratulations if that's what you voted for. But the spring gun, and I'm going to, I know it's Sunday, so I'm going to try to do what I'm so often incapable of doing, which is STFU. Right? In a moment. There are, and you will hear the spring gun analogy again, because there is a list of items associated with Project 2025, which by design, they cut or destroyed these programs in such a way, voting rights, RFK Jr., all sorts of other things we'll come back to on another day. But they destroyed them with the knowledge that reconstituting, repairing, regenerating, breathing life back into, or building back better. Boy, that sounds good. Should use that. Will be expensive and time consuming. And what will happen is, of course, your 3-year-old grandchild can tell you how this is going to go. So win at the midterms, win in 2028, and then you start the long road to judicial reform, congressional reform, and all the other things. But just repairing the agencies, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, right? And all of the things that RFK is breaking. Like, well, there we go again. The Democratic Party, or they just say the Democrat Party, or however they, whatever. It's kind of like saying, some idiot in the middle of the street screaming woke, right? You know what they are. You know that they're maybe unstable or part of the cult, screaming woke in the middle of the street or on Face the Nation. Yeah, but these are the same people. They destroy all the things, and they'll be out there screaming bloody murder that the Democratic Party. They're tax and spend liberals. Look at them. They're spending. Yeah, you know why? You set it up. You set the spring gun. So, and then you cut all the taxes. So inevitably, when the repairs have to occur, when the plumber and the electrician and all the other people needed to put the house back in order, it costs money, and it's so much cheaper to destroy something than to fix it. So that is the spring gun analogy. And I'll drop something in the feed for those of you that were fortunate enough not to burn 3 years of your life in law school. But it's an interesting little fact pattern. But for me it gets the mind. It's premises liability, but in a larger sense, as an analogy, it's a trap, a booby trap for a president that has boobies, which I would only say about a male, overweight, unfit one. But it's setting a trap. It's by design, not on the fly. This is Project 2025. Set the trap. So when things revert to adults and normal people in government, that at least, even while we're being hopefully prosecuted for the crimes we committed, we can say, you see, we were right. All they wanted to do was to tax you and spend. Government costs money. You cut all the revenue sources. Don't talk about tariffs. That's like screaming woke. That's like mispronouncing pronouncing Kamala Harris's name Kamala or whatever. What that signals is I'm a member of a cult, a overweight, unbalanced man forces me to say certain things, kind of as um, the opposite of virtue signaling. The opposite of that would be how I let members of the cult know that I am a like-minded individual. I think my final little analogy, and this is going back 50 years. What is it? Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Kiefer Sutherland's father, Donald, great actor. Final scene, or one of the final scenes in the movie, where he has finally been dragged into the body snatchers cadre, and he just has this scream at the end of the movie, which is one of the most wonderful and bone-chilling cinematic events. Well, at that point, my childhood, almost. It was quite some time ago. But think about, I'll load something in on the spring gun, and for further reading and entertainment, you can just use that Google or that newfangled Google machine called AI, and it'll tell you about what students are taught in tort law in as 1Ls. And it's a useful little fact pattern that spurs debate about the limits of premises liability and your ability to protect your own property and lots of other fun things. So, yes. Booby is setting a booby trap. So don't be a booby, and register to vote. Get somebody else to register to vote, and remember your collective action responsibilities. Uh, if you Paramount Plus, kids might hate you. Get rid of it. Amazon, kill it. Kill it in a nice sense. Disney, if you haven't yet, do it. It it hurts them. Disney is a perfect example. Like, oh my God, they'll never feel it because I'm just one guy or gal. No impact. It's just me. No, do it. Tell your community about it, and that'll drag a few more people along the way, and eventually it turns into a multi-billion-dollar hit like Disney Plus and Target, and redirecting your business to Costco and looking skeptically at the Starbucks and the other line steppers that are perhaps too concerned about what DEI means to Donald Trump's feelings, meaning like who cares, and doing what's right by their employees. So, in any case, wishing you all a beautiful day. And as you can perhaps see over my shoulder, it is a sunny and beautiful 21-degree Fahrenheit day in northern Massachusetts. Pleasure as always. I look forward to doing these outside again in the very near future. Thank you and have a great day.